Hello, everybody, and good evening. Welcome back to Basics. I'm Jonas Sage, along with my good friend Will Lyles, and we've got all you need to know about the sports world.
Including why Penn State is the real deal, NFL quarterback rankings, and everything MTSU in our True Blue review.
But we start tonight with the World Series.
It looks to be a battle of two powerhouses with the Houston Astros and the Los Angeles Dodgers. Both these teams were expected to go far into the postseason, even from the beginning of the season.
Or if you're Sports Illustrated, you predicted it since 2014. The Astros are finally reaping the benefits of the youth movement, but do you think they can pull it off?
I really do think they can pull it off. The Astros are a good team, and I've been expecting them to go long into the playoffs. Jose Altuve will be able to bring that offense to where it needs to be able to match the Dodgers bullpen.
One of the best batting averages that Jose Altuve has ever had this season. He's been a great batter his whole career. And with that happening, we're going to take a break. Coming up, we'll look at everything Tennessee, including a look at MTSU's performance against Marshall and more in our True Blue review.
All that and more coming up next.
Your Marine Corps' way of life is to defend the American way of life. Every day, we take a stand for our nation, for each other, for us all. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Idle hands. They say they're the devil's workshop. Give idle hands a place to go, a purpose, and they're capable of amazing things.
From Iraq and Afghanistan, our brave warriors are coming home, wounded. Some with wounds you can see, some with wounds you can't see. Wounded Warrior Project was created to support our men and women coming off the battlefield. Please help carry these warriors the rest of the way home. Get involved at woundedwarriorproject.org.
It started with the original care package and millions more like it, passed from hand to hand across land and sea to help survivors in the aftermath of war. As we grew, we found better ways to help those in need, ways to make a real difference, not just today, but tomorrow as well. Be the difference in people's lives. Help deliver lasting change at care.org.
Welcome to the True Blue Review. We had a big week for MT Sports, including a blackout football game and a great start for men's golf. Here's Jonas with women's golf.
Well, Will, the Lady Raiders went to the Lady Paladin Invitational back in Greenville. They finished very well, going 4th out of 17 teams competing in the event. They overall went 11 over par in the event, which is far better than the 33 over par average that all 17 teams had. They had a really good performance. What about the men's side of golf?
The men's side of golf also had a good weekend. The men's golf team is tied for 10th after 2 rounds at the Quail Valley Collegiate Invitational in Vero Beach, Florida. The leader right now is South Florida with a total of 552, and MTSU had 2 rounds of 280 and 288 to pull within 568. The leader for the Blue Raiders is redshirt freshman Tyler Johnson. He had rounds of 68 and 72, which is good for 18th overall, and he also had 10 birdies, which was good enough to lead the Blue Raiders.
For our women's soccer team, they were all smiles in their senior day against Southern Miss. Peyton DePriest and Taylor Hatch scored to win the game 2-1. Speaking of DePriest, she is having an amazing freshman season, scoring 13 goals in only 16 games, leading the team. They're going to play UAB before going into the Conference USA tournament.
Murphy Madness is back. That means college basketball is fast approaching. The Raiders will look to defend their crown as CUSA champions, as they are heavy favorites to win it all again. Murphy Madness is at 6 p.m. on October 26th at Murphy Center. Festivities will start around 4 p.m. and include trick-or-treating in the Greenland Drive parking lot and photo booths and inflatables. The event is free to anyone, and the Murphy Madness will start with an introduction of both the men's and women's players along with all the coaches. Next will be an NBA All-Star format, including a slam dunk competition, a three-point contest, a skills competition, and a shooting stars contest. There will be 4 teams, one made up of fans, one made up of MTSU alumni, another one of men's basketball members, and then the last team will be women's basketball members. One fan will get a chance to make a half-court shot to win a brand new Mustang. The Blue Raiders' first game is against Trevecca at 11 a.m. on November 10th. They will be looking to shake up some more brackets this year.
The Blue Raider football team clashed with Marshall here at the Floyd Stadium this past weekend. Things didn't go their way this week, unfortunately, losing to the Thundering Herd 38-10. This is the team's second consecutive loss and will now take a bye this week. Will, I can't stress enough how important Brent Stockstill is to the offense. They haven't clicked ever since he's been injured, and now they're going into a bye needing some much-needed rest. Their next game, of course, will be next week, or not 2 weeks from now, against UTEP on November 4th.
Another team looking to get things going offensively is the Volunteers. The offense hasn't scored a touchdown since the UMass game over a month ago. The only touchdown they've had during that was a 97-yard interception return and a 45-7 loss to Alabama. They play Kentucky this weekend, and Butch Jones already seemed like he's packing his bags. This game will determine how soon he leaves.
And of course, a lot of people calling for his head. On the rival side, Vanderbilt is in the midst of a 4-game losing streak. They will play at South Carolina this Saturday at 3 p.m. to turn things around. The Gamecocks have opened as 6.5-point favorites, and that may be in part to their 8-year winning streak against the Commodores. Vandy lost last year in Will Muschamp's debut as South Carolina's head coach, 13-10. South Carolina is also coming off a 15-9 win over the Vols, and this is a must-win game for the Commodores.
Changing the sport but staying in Tennessee, the Preds are 4-3-1 on the year after falling to the Rangers 4-2 on Saturday night. They are riding a 5-game point streak heading into the game. They are 4th in the Central Division with 9 points. There are already some standouts on the Preds, including Philip Forsberg. He is leading the team with 11 points, including 6 goals and 5 assists. PK Subban is also nearing point-per-game levels, having 7 points in 8 games. They play fellow Western Conference foes, the Calgary Flames, at Bridgestone, and you bet it will be rocking. They recently got voted the best franchise by ESPN, thanks to their fan base and success. We will be looking to have a full house at Puck Drop at 7 p.m.
Like they always do. And meanwhile, the Titans have a much-needed bye this weekend. They won this past Sunday against the now winless Cleveland Browns to get 4-3 on the year, although it was a lot more difficult than anticipated, making the defense do the bulk of the work, which includes former MTSU safety Kevin Byard, who had 3 total picks in the game and now ties the league lead in interceptions. The game went into overtime, and they won it 12-9 off a 47-yard field goal from Ryan Suckup, who now has 55 consecutive field goals from inside 50 yards. The bye week will be key to get healthy and get work on offense. Titans are now tied for first in the AFC South with the Jaguars. Titans' next home game will be against the Ravens on November 5th.
We're going to take a break, but coming up, we've got college football recaps and what to expect from the top teams going forward.
All that and more on Back to Basics.
I never imagined this would be your first home.
I feel powerless. I can't stop asking why us.
I just want to hug, and kiss you and never let go.
This is the hardest thing we've ever faced. I know it's even harder on you.
You are my little fighter. We're here with you.
I believe in you. Just 4 simple words. But to a child in need, they mean the world. When you support a child through Save the Children, you're saying, I believe in you. Visit sponsor.savethechildren.org/believe today.
We cure 80% of children with cancer. If you think about that, go back 50 years, we were curing 20 to 30%. This is the miracle story of modern medicine. There's one thing we're focused on here at St. Jude, and that's beating this thing.
Suppose now sure she makes the sun seem deep in the North Sea.
Welcome back. I'm Will Lyles along with Jonas Sage. It was a great weekend for college football, and several teams made their case for contention across the league.
That's right, and we'll start with Notre Dame taking on USC. Notre Dame and USC were both ranked one-loss teams fighting to stay alive in the playoff race. It soon became clear, however, who the better team was as the Fighting Irish took out the Trojans 49-19. Josh Adams improved his Heisman case, going 191 yards on only 19 carries. With Notre Dame now cracking into the top 10 after this performance, what are their chances to get into the college football playoff?
You know, they have some really good chances. They have a lot of opportunities, including number 14 NC State this weekend. If they can continue this hot streak, they could really impress some people on the committee.
Absolutely. And earlier in the season, they lost to Georgia, which was their only loss.
Let's move on to one of the more surprising teams in college football, as newly ranked Memphis took on the Houston Cougars. All hope seemed to be lost after down 17-0 at half, but Memphis managed to score 21 points per quarter to defeat the Houston Cougars 42-38. With that win, it puts the Tigers in sole possession of first place in the American West Conference. Do you think they'll be able to hold on for the win and win the division?
I absolutely do. They have a good, strong core, really turning some heads after that comeback win against Houston, really motivating the team that anything is possible. The next 2 games include Tulane and Tulsa, both easily winnable games. I do believe that Memphis can hold on to the American West, continue to stay ranked, and overall have a very enjoyable season. And while Memphis is enjoying their run, Oklahoma State is trying not to end theirs. The Cowboys and the Texas Longhorns took the stage where an upset was brewing. Oklahoma State tied the game at 10 early in the 4th quarter, and in overtime, the Cowboys pulled a key interception to fend off the Longhorns. It was tough for Oklahoma State, but it's going to get tougher with their next 3 games, all against ranked opponents. Do you think they can pull it off?
You know, I really do. I really do. They have a good offense right now, and they could really keep it going from what they've built on.
Hopefully they do maintain that chance to stay alive in the college football playoffs.
Staying in the Big 12, West Virginia was coming off a big win against Texas Tech and saw themselves back in the ranking against Baylor. Baylor is trying to avoid a losing record for the first time since 2009. It was going the Mountaineers' way, holding off Baylor's 23-point 4th quarter, and they ended up winning 38-36. Jonas, West Virginia was up 38-13 at the start of the 4th. Is there any cause for concern going forward for the rest of the schedule?
Honestly, I do have some pretty big concerns. Yeah. You know that the Big 12 is a very tough conference, and Baylor didn't even have a win going into this game. And to blow a big lead like that, having a 23-point 4th quarter, 23 unanswered points, that's a pretty big concern. I do expect West Virginia to keep on going and improve their team overall. Finally, we move on to the game of the week, or that's what it was supposed to be. Penn State took on Michigan in a classic rivalry, only it was clearly a one-sided show. The Nittany Lions easily handled the Wolverines 42-13. Will, many were questioning the ability of Penn State and their strength of schedule. Does this win silence all of the critics?
It does for right now. Again, they have Ohio State this weekend. I am not gonna be 100% satisfied with Penn State until they can prove that they can get it done against the Buckeyes.
Of course, that's a big game coming up this week, and they did dominate Michigan and the rest of their opponents. Saquon Barkley really being a favorite for the Heisman.
With all that said and done, the college rankings have been posted. Each of us has our top 10 on the list and where they should be ranked. Jonas, I'll let you start. What changes do you have on your list?
First off, I actually do see Notre Dame being a little higher up there. I think their team, including Josh Allen, a really supreme athlete. I think they're a little underrated. Of course, top 4, Alabama, #1 in the nation. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Penn State with Saquon Barkley. I think with a big name like him, they're going to be in the top 2. Georgia rounding at 3, I think, with Jake Fromm, with quarterback. I think he's a big motivator, and he really put the team to a next level. And TCU, which has really been a surprising team. I don't believe they were ranked at the start of the season. Now, all of a sudden, they're 4th. Wisconsin, Clemson, Notre Dame, all those teams, one-loss teams, really trying to make the bend to the top 4. What about you, Will? Are there any changes on your side?
You know, the top 10 is a bit sketchy right now. When you look at teams that have just got in it, like Notre Dame, you look at Wisconsin, they have a tough road ahead of them. And then you look at the top 4. I had Clemson as my #3 team up until they lost. Now I have Alabama as #1. I have Georgia as #2. They have played the tougher competition out of anybody in the top 4. And I have TCU as #3 and Penn State until they really prove themselves. I have them as #4.
And we'll see if things continue to shake up throughout the season. Still ahead on Back to Basics, we've got all the NFL action from last weekend and Monday night, as well as Truman with our quarterback rankings. Does Alex Smith take over Tom Brady at #1? Find out next on Back to Basics.
Everyone deserves to have a decent place to live.
Everyone.
Todos. When a future homeowner partners with Habitat for Humanity to build or improve a home, they build a better future for themselves and their families.
For my family.
Para po sa pamilya ko.
Por mi familia.
With a little help, we all have the potential to stand on our own. Through shelter, we empower. Visit Habitat.org to provide help to families like these today.
Time is the one thing that we want more of as a St. Jude parent. Without the donors, I wouldn't have my Audrey.
El que St. Jude no cobra ni un centavo para nosotros significa quitarnos todo ese estrés, esa preocupación y podernos enfocar en nuestra hija.
That was the first thing I was like, how are we gonna do this? When they told us that we didn't have to pay a single bill, I was like, wow. They pretty much have saved us.
They've taken care of our housing. They've taken care of our food. In addition to the best medical treatment that my daughter could ever have. So it allows me to focus on my daughter and getting her better.
Your seat cushion can be used to grant wishes.
Who said that? Hello?
Really can, you know.
You talking to me?
Sure am. Because the airline miles you earn and donate to Make-A-Wish can help send thousands of kids on their wish trips. So donate to Make-A-Wish today.
You really should, you know. You really should.
And give wishes wings. Because wishes work wonders.
Welcome back to Basics. Will, we are halfway into the NFL season, seeing a lot of teams streak. And with that and more, we're going to give it to Jacob Wilder, our analyst, for who's hot and who's not.
Hey, thanks, Jonas. Time to start off with my hot or not picks for the week. Week 7 was really exciting, but we've got some really smoking hot teams, and then we've got some really, really, really not teams. So let's start off with the hot team first. The Pittsburgh Steelers, they took first place in the AFC North this week. They're second in the NFL behind the Eagles. They're at 5-2. They started off really slow this season with losses to the Bears and a blowout loss to the Jaguars, and they weren't living up to their Super Bowl expectations. However, they won last week against the Chiefs, who were undefeated until that point. And then they got a big-time division win this week against the Bengals. Ben had 2 first-half touchdowns, and Le'Veon Bell had 35 carries for 134 yards. Their defense is 4th in the league. I don't see them slowing down anytime soon. They have Detroit next week up in Motown, so I think they can take care of business there and keep rolling towards the playoffs. But for every hot team, there's a really, really not team, and that not team is Denver. They're 2nd in the AFC West. They're 16th in the NFL, and they're at 3-3, which is totally disappointing considering they have what was supposed to be the best defense in the NFL. They're on a 2-game losing skid. They gave the defanged Giants team their first win, and they gave the Chargers their 3rd win in a row and a 2nd division win. They dropped the division game this week, and they were shut out for the first time in 25 years since 1992. Their next game is against Kansas City, so you can bet that they're going to lose that one also and continue their descent.
Thank you very much, Jacob. Of course, as I said, halfway into the season, a lot of things starting to take shape, including the quarterbacks themselves. Who has what better fundamentals throwing, that game-changing mentality. And for that, we'll go to our quarterback rankings with Truman Groib.
All right, thanks, Jonas. It's good to be here. All right, so let's go ahead and get into things. I've got 30 guys for this week's rankings, excluding Matthew Stafford, excluding Deshaun Watson, because those are 2 top-tier guys who are definitely going to be top.
To be straight, who was the bottom of your quarterback rankings?
I got Mitch Trubisky. He threw the ball a whopping 7 times. So obviously, he got the ball 7 times. Just go evaluate him for yourself.
Yeah, obviously, 7 times, not the best effort from a quarterback, despite winning the game 17-3 against the Panthers.
Who made the biggest jump this weekend?
Ben Roethlisberger, as I'm sure all of you football fans know, threw 5 picks against Jacksonville a couple weeks ago. And if you read my rankings, he was in the 20s, and now he's climbed back up to 14. Yeah, when you throw 5 picks, you're going to be in the 20s, but he's slowly working his way back up. He's not playing too great, but he's playing well enough, and the Steelers are winning games. And I'm sure they'll make the playoffs, and whatever happens then happens.
Yeah, I agree with you, Truman. Big Ben, he definitely can get the Steelers where they need to go, but he definitely has struggled this year, unlike years past.
Of course, a couple weeks ago, he thought he might be done, and now look at him. Of course, final question for you, Truman. We want to know who the #1 quarterback is on this list. Is it Tom Brady, Alex Smith, maybe even someone else?
And so, drum roll, please. Here we are, #1. Who is it? Tom Brady. What a surprise. All right. So Tom Brady, obviously #1. There's no more Aaron Rodgers, so he pretty much has no competition for that spot. Sure, you could argue that Alex Smith should be #1, but I'm factoring in legacy points to this, and Tom Brady is the GOAT. Tom Brady is #1. The Patriots are winning. Tom Brady's lighting up the stats. I mean, what else do you need me to say? He's Tom Brady. He's #1.
And now we're going to take a break. Coming up, we're going to have the NBA races. Who's MVP, who's Rookie of the Year? You'll find that and more next on Back to Basics.
Chef Patty here. Why should you include avocados as part of your family's balanced diet? It's as simple as 1, 2, 3. Number 1. Avocados fill you up. Avocados contain unsaturated fats, good fats your body needs to help with the absorption of key nutrients.
Me hungry right now.
Number 2. Avocados are good for you. Avocados are naturally cholesterol and sodium free, plus they contain nearly 20 vitamins and nutrients.
Me need vitamins and nutrients, and number 3, avocado delicious.
Try avocados in place of ingredients higher in saturated fat. Avocados taste great in sandwiches, salads, and even in baked goods like cookies.
Avocado cookies? This match made in heaven.
This is your new kitten, or your new puppy. Every day, 70,000 puppies and kittens just like them are born in the U.S. Cute, right? Well, what's not cute is that half of all litters are accidents. And when a kitten has a litter of oopsies and a puppy has a litter of uh-ohs, pretty soon you have thousands and thousands of OMGs. And that leads to millions of pets being killed in shelters each year. But if 80% of pet owners say they believe in spaying and neutering, then what gives? Well, it turns out those sweet little fuzzballs can get pregnant sooner than you think. A lot sooner. But here's the good news. You can stop the accident before it happens. You just have to remember one number. 4, as in 4 months. When you bring home Maggie or Ruby or Puddle or Clyde, get them fixed at 4 months. It can be old enough to get pregnant, and it's definitely young enough to make a difference. Prevent more, fix at month 4.
Hello and welcome back to Back to Basics. I'm Jonas H. along here with Will Lyles, getting into the NBA season just now tipping off. We're seeing a lot of players make that impact. Now, who do you believe so far would be the clear-cut MVP or who's leading the race so far?
You know, I have Russell Westbrook. He really has been the focal point in the Thunder offense. And, I mean, along with Paul George and Carmelo Anthony, Russell Westbrook really has, like, he really has a unit, and he has really stepped his game up this year. And who do you think, Jonas?
You know, I'm going to go ahead and say Giannis Antetokounmpo. So far, he's been a monster to be reckoned with. He averaged a career-high 44 points against the Blazers, and he's been the key point of a Bucks team that really is trying to make the Eastern Conference playoffs. With the freakish height he has and the ability to transcend into a guard as well as a forward, he really is a clear-cut favorite. And Vegas now has him at odds at 5/2, which he started the season at 10/1 at Vegas. He now leads for them. Now going into the Rookie of the Year category, a lot of rookies, a lot of interesting people. De'Aaron Fox, Markelle Fultz, Jason Tatum. Who steps up for you so far in these first few games?
You know, I have Lonzo Ball. He has a great potential in the offense that he's really been the key of. And he almost put up a triple-double the other night. Despite his first bad game, he still can take control of Rookie of the Year. What do you think?
I'm going to go ahead and say Ben Simmons for this one. Had a triple-double against the Detroit Pistons. Last year's #1 pick, had an injury out for the year. And now Markelle Fultz, we're hearing, actually might not play for quite some time with fluid being drained in his arm. Ben Simmons really trying to become a game changer, a game manager in this aspect. He's really going to try and really become one of the best players in the league. And so far, it seemed like that with over 18 points a game to start the season. And finally, with that concludes Back to Basics. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. Make sure to tune us in every Tuesday to see all the greatest updates and sports news. I'm Jonas Sage, along here with
There are those who dedicate themselves to a sense of honor, to a life of courage, and a commitment to something greater than themselves. They have always defended this nation and each other. They still do. The few, the proud, the Marines.
As a mother, you don't want to have to worry about this bill is coming, but then she needs this chemo. That's a decision you shouldn't have to make.
El que St. Jude no cobra ni un centavo para nosotros significa quitarnos todo ese estrés, esa preocupación y podernos enfocar en nuestra hija.
That was the first thing I was like, how are we going to do this? When St. Jude told us that we didn't have to pay a single bill, I was like, wow. They pretty much have saved us.
It's like the world has been lifted off of your shoulders, and now your focus is supporting this child.
There is not another hospital like St. Jude. The patient care is unmatchable. It saved my life. It saved my daughter's life. It saved our family.